When they start lowering interest rates or it becomes official that they're not going to raise them anymore, the dollar's going to go down. The dollar's been on a dive for the last several weeks. Not a dive, but going down. The dollar's going to go down and gold prices are going to go up. The only reason that gold prices haven't gone up, other than them probably rigging the game, and I don't make that up because JP Morgan Chase was fined $900 million in 2019 for rigging the precious metals market. So the only reason the gold is down is because the dollar is strong.
And I'm joined by a very special guest in a few short seconds. It's Gerald Celente. He's the publisher of the Trends Journal. He's an accomplished book author, somebody I follow on Market Sanity and other websites as well. I watch his videos on YouTube. You should do as well. I'll put a description down below or a link down below. But we'll have lots to discuss. Lots happening. I just read a great term just minutes before this interview. It's called inflation endgame. So I think that's a nice trigger word because it could mean a lot. Where are things headed? Of course, we're recording this just an hour before the Fed announces a potential additional rate hike and maybe puts out some language about what might happen the rest of the year. So some of it is going to be speculation, obviously, by the time this interview airs. But really curious where things are going. And it's time to bring my guest on. And Gerald Celente, it's great to have you on the program. I've been looking forward to this for a while now.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you need a lot of introduction. You're so well known in the industry and the sector. It's great to have you on. Let's dive right in. You said you're from the Bronx. You need a lot of briefing. We'll dive right in. And how do you rate the state of the global economy right now? How is the financial system doing? Like, what's your impression right now?
Well, let's start with the Fed. And the bet is that they're going to raise interest rates another 25 basis points. And it doesn't count what they say because they change what they want to say anytime they say it. So the guess is also that they may raise them another 25 basis points. That's going to slow down the economy. And then on Thursday, the EU, they're expected to raise interest rates also. That'll slow down the economy. I mean, you're in Germany. What is there, a thing called recession going on? And the IMF came out this week and said that the year is going to end with Germany in recession. Oh, the fourth largest economy in the world in recession? Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. Oh, your manufacturing? Oh, that's way down. Purchasing manager index, MF, that's way down. So let's go back to what it all means. They artificially propped up the global economy when they fought the COVID war. In Europe, keeping the interest rates at negative that they've done since what, 2010 or something. And the United States at zero, plus pushing trillions of dollars of fake money into the economies to keep artificially boosting them. So where is it going? It's going to hell. Economic hell is people are living it. So when they talk about inflation going down, there's a guy by the name of John Williams, and he has this website called Shadow Stats. In America, the inflation numbers are twice what the government reports they are because they rig them so it doesn't seem high. So yes, inflation is going down, but it's still very high. So, for example, the median price of a home in America is over $400,000. Who can afford that? Oh, you mean the job you got at Walmart? Oh, the job driving an Amazon truck? All we are plantation workers of the global plantation of Slavelandia. Inflation is really high. Save your crap spewing out of the mouth of the former IMF clown, Christine Lagarde, who said Celente and all of you others that say there's inflation, you're full of shit. There is no inflation. I'm Christine Lagarde. I'm a member of the bankster gangsters. We're not going to raise interest rates because we want to keep pumping in that cheap money so the bigs could keep buying up everything they want. Merger and acquisition activity in America, when they pumped all that cheap money in low interest rates, was at an all-time high in 2021. All they do to keep artificially propping this up is so the bigs, the private equity groups, the venture capitalists, the hedge funds, none of these scumbags existed when I was a young man. They were created by the bigs so they could steal more money. They could give a shit about inflation. All they're interested in is keeping wages low, and that's why they're raising interest rates, so they hopefully slow down the economy so the bigs don't have to pay more money to the plantation workers. And you don't have to believe me, that's the bullshit coming out of their mouths. Wages are too high. Wages are too high. Raise those interest rates. Create more people that are unemployed so we don't have to pay them as much. So the billionaires could get richer that only got $27 trillion richer during the 2 years of the COVID war. All right?
Massive, M2 money and supply increase there as well. Just insane what's going on. So you're saying the U.S. inflation rate of 3% is a hoax, obviously,
Bullshit.
right?
Total
And
bullshit.
I couldn't believe it when I saw that number actually as well. 3% does not seem right. I think you mentioned as well in another review, used car sales prices, just down 0.5%, but from what level, right? So
that's the thing.
Like, where do you draw the line when you look at that? Yeah, 3%. We're getting closer to the 2% mark, right? Is that even realistic, right?
No.
Like, do you see us even heading there? Like, will you see a turnaround? Because in the end, like, the pendulum swings both ways, right?
Yeah.
So
again, yes, it's going to go down as the economies go down. A lot of prices are going to go down, but they're still very high. And the wages aren't keeping up with inflation. And they lie about the numbers. So yeah, the numbers are going to come down. Oh, it only went up 3%. Yeah, but how about all the other? It went up at car sales. You know what it costs in America to buy an average car? $50,000. $40,000 a year to send your kid to a private college. Who can afford this?
it doesn't make sense.
After another. Oh, life, home insurance, car insurance, all skyrocketing. Health insurance, all the prices going way up. Oh no, but inflation's going down. Again, the bullshit from them. Janet Yellen, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, that was the former head of the Federal Reserve. How damn stupid can you be not to see who's running the country? The U.S. Treasury Secretary was the former head of the bankster gangsters. Anyway, crap spewing out of her mouth, crap spewing out of Powell's mouth, the Fed head, going back to 2021 and early 2022, there's no inflation. It's only temporary. There's no inflation. It's only transitory. Those are quotes. They didn't start raising interest rates until March of 2022 in America. What was it, July in the EU? What bullshit this is. All they want to do is bring down wages and the bigs control more. End of story. End of story. And what's going to happen, this is very simple. They do it all the time. Again, when we do trends tracking and trend forecasting in the Trends Journal, we take the facts. The facts. Like, for example, we said, oh, no, the markets aren't going to crash in the United States in 2023 because following the midterm elections, they had one in 2022, the last 40 midterm elections, they went up the S&P 500 went up on average 16.3% over the last 40 years. So going back to the facts, the fact is they always lower interest rates in the run-up to the presidential reality show that people call the presidential election, to boost the economy of the person in power. And again, the gang that's in charge, I told you who the Treasury Secretary is. So they want Biden to stay in. They're going to lower interest rates. What does that mean? And the only reason the dollar is strong is because interest rates are high. When they start lowering interest rates, or it becomes official that they're not going to raise them anymore, the dollar's going to go down. The dollar's been on a dive for the last several weeks. Not a dive, but going down. The dollar's going to go down and gold prices are going to go up. The only reason that gold prices haven't gone up, other than them probably rigging the game, and I don't make that up because JP Morgan Chase was fined $900 million in 2019 for rigging the precious metals markets. So the only reason the gold is down is because the dollar is strong. When the dollar gets weaker, because gold is dollar-based, more countries could buy and more people could buy gold with their currencies because it's going to be cheaper for them. So we see gold prices this year probably $22,200 an ounce. Again, minus wild cards. You don't know. And there are many wild cards, by the way, that are very positive for gold. The Ukraine war being one of them, and the Middle East meltdown, which is one of our top trends. Again, in trend tracking and trend forecasting, we call it globalnomic. All things are connected. So now let's look what's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up.
How many people really know what's going on in Israel? They don't have a clue about the judicial reform and the protests taking to the streets, the doctors going on strike. When all else fails, they take you to war. So as the economy goes down, civil unrest builds up in Israel, Israel's going to start attacking more Palestinians, maybe going into Lebanon, doing something to Iran. These are the wild cards. The Ukraine war heating up as they're sending more missiles into Russia, and Russia's sending more into Ukraine. So the wild cards are big. There are wild cards out there that, to me, and again, there are no advertisements in the Trends Journal. We don't do advertisements for anybody. To me, gold is the number one safe haven asset.
Fantastic. We got to talk about another trend, and a date that keeps popping up whenever I open the newspaper. Pretty much is August 26th, the BRICS meeting down in Johannesburg. Right? What's your thesis about what is going to happen in South Africa? Do you care to speculate?
No, that's not speculation at all. The world has had enough of the United States geopolitical and economic hegemony. I mentioned to you that the article written about the United States overthrow the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych. This was when the Trends Journal was a quarterly rather, and now it's a weekly. All right. Washington is driving the world to the final war. World hegemony is not a right America has earned. This is by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan, going back to BRICS. They are disgusted with American hegemony. And I believe that they're going to be going back on the gold standard. And they may create their own currency or stay with their own currencies, but backed by gold. And America only got off the gold standard in 1971 under Richard Nixon. And people have no idea of the why. The why is because of the Vietnam War that was sucking all the money out of America and inflation moving up. So they had to keep printing more and more cheap dollars. So going back to your question, BRICS is very simple. BRICS is going to keep building because they want to build their own brick economy and not that of the United States.
What are some of the other factors driving gold prices right now? Because we're still at a decent level, 1963, as we're talking, right? What are some other trends that you're watching that could influence the gold price?
Well, again, the uncertainty of where the future is going economically, and again, the equity markets have no representation at all of the general public. It's a game that's the bigs gamble in. but the people are feeling the pain. And what they're doing, again, you don't have to believe me. Why don't you ask the central banks? They bought what, 155% more gold in the first quarter of this year than last year.
Mostly
They know
Eastern
how bad
nations,
it
though,
is.
right? It's not the
What?
Western. It's not the Western nations. Mostly Eastern, like
Yeah,
east of Germany, right? Poland, including as well, or including Poland, for example.
yeah. They know how bad it is. The central banks know how bad it is. So going back to the what the people are feeling, if those that have, again, 1% in the United States controls 54% of the US equity markets, 10%, 90%. So the average person isn't in there, and they don't know how to play the market. So they go for gold as well, the ones that want, to hold on to security. So again, to me, and again, now you're seeing more and more countries, and Russia being one of them, going into the digital currencies that we've been warning about, by the way, in the Trends Journal since like 2015. One of our covers of the Trends Journal in March of 2020, from dirty cash to digital trash. So they know every penny you spent, what you spend it, what you spent it on, so they could get their tax money and have more control over you, knowing your life. So gold is that number one safe haven in that scenario. So you asked for another one. So digital currencies is another reason to go gold.
Well, the EU just announced like 4 weeks ago that they're planning to launch their CBDC by 2028. So they just asked for regulation, pretty much. They just published a paper on that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely trending that way. And
So
another trigger, like I keep coming back to the U.S. because it's still the main market. Everybody's watching the U.S. Banking crisis is another trigger or potential straw. Always looking for the straw that breaks the camel's back. Do you think we're done with the banking crisis, or you think that will pop up again, especially if the Fed keeps raising rates, or even if it stays at this level?
absolutely, it's going to pop up again. And what hardly anybody talks about, that we had forecast in March of 2020 when they launched the COVID war, is office building bust. Get it? You can't go to work. Go back in your house. You got to work from home. So now people is working from home week after week, month after month, and they're saying to themselves, holy Christ, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to travel an hour and a half to commute each way. I'm not doing that anymore. And then I'm the guy that's, let's say I got 10 floors in a building, and say, yeah, only come in 2 or 3 days a week. I don't need all this office space. The office building bust is horrendous. And the commercial real estate sector as a whole, you got $20 trillion in debt that has to be paid. You have office vacancy rates that are up to 30, 20% in some of the 10 top cities in America, including San Francisco. It's about 20% in New York City. Vacant. Occupancy rate, people going back to work in the 10 major cities, according to Castle Systems with a K, is only 50%. The people on commuting on public services, it's way down. And all the businesses that depended on commuters, a lot of them are going out of business. The banking crisis has just begun. There's going to be defaults like you can't imagine. Again, we're detailing them week after week in the Trends Journal. Office building bust. It became one of our top trends for 2023 because we said this is the year they're going to start finally realizing it. And when I say start to finally realizing it, you go back to 2021, they were buying up buildings like crazy, not understanding that this work at home trend, it's part of the new reality. People are not going to be going back to work full time, and the office vacancy rates are going to stay high, and there's going to be foreclosures and failures to pay debt, and the banks are going to go bust. It's just begun. And again, this is very important. People don't realize how bad it is until a crisis happens. They don't, if you're dying, they only know it when you're dead. And that's the same thing with the banking system. And with what's crashing it, it's dying They're only going to realize how bad it is when it's dead. And then the reality hits when the equity markets crash. Then the people on Main Street realize, yo, it's only not me that's suffering, even they're suffering. That's when it becomes, but don't worry about it. As I said, when all else fails, they take you to war. What followed the Great Depression? Oh, World War II. What followed the dot-com bust? Oh, the war on terror. And now they got the whole world hating Russia, the whole Western world, and we got to stop them, and we'll do anything we can. So World War III's already begun. And again, the people march off like clowns all the time. 88% of the people in America were so damn stupid, they swallowed the crap coming out of the mouth of a little boy of nothing, George W. Bush, a little daddy's boy born on third base and thought he had a home run with the mind of a clown. The mind of a clown. 88% of the people swallowed the clown crap that we got to invade Afghanistan and get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. Not making that up. So they'll march off to war. And that's what people better understand. It's not only about the economy. You got mentally deranged people in charge in a country near you.
Absolutely. No, I'm just reading some of the stuff that's happening. It's just mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. Market crash, I think, is one more topic. Recession fears and market crash, I think, go hand in hand. I want to talk about that real quick. Do you see a recession happening this year? A lot of experts have pushed their expectation now to 2024. Because, sort of touching on the commercial banking crisis, the commercial real estate crisis there, that you see happening. Do you see that as the trigger that before the year end will break the camel's back here?
It's hard to tell, but here's what we see. We see the market staying pretty strong for a while, but reality is going to start setting in around late September, October. Right now, the people are in a summer state of mind. They're tuned out. They have no idea. They want to have a good time, vacation. I mean, you're in Europe. I mean, Europe is all there right now. It's tourist time. So your services are going to go up, it'll keep the economy up. But again, you look at manufacturing, which really counts, that's way down. And this is also very important. We're talking about inflation. This is going to keep inflation high in the service sector because of tourism, because, they're going to they got to keep it going. And the money's coming in, they're going to keep the prices high and get all they can. So, but we see it slowing down after late September, October. That's our best estimate of when we see reality hitting the streets.
Is there a top indicator that we should follow to look at? And you mentioned a lot of things to follow, but is there something when you open the newspaper in the morning, or let's say Reuters or any of the websites, like you look at it, it's like, okay, it's happening. There's something?
Yeah, it's either going to be it's going to be an economic issue of some sort, whether it's the market's going down, that's the kind of thing, or the banking crisis. You never know when that's going to hit, because the whole thing is a scam. Once upon a time, as the stories go, there was somebody by the name of Jesus Christ, and he drives the money changers out of the temple. This was the cover of the Trends Journal back in 2011. Think about it. The Prince of Peace becomes violent and makes a whip to drive the money changers out of the temple. Who are the money changers? Oh, they changed out Credit Suisse. Oh, they're not there anymore. Oh, they got bought out. I forgot. Oh, how about the Silicon Valley Bank? Oh, no, don't worry about that. How about, all right, it's a gangster banksters. We have that lousy piece of scum, may he rot in hell, Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States, that got us into World War I, which was no damn business of ours, created the Federal Reserve. We didn't have one before. Oh, and then, by the way, we're going to do a thing called federal income tax that didn't exist either. All right? We have no right having a Federal Reserve Bank. It has no right being here. They're bankster gangsters. They're billionaires. How stupid can the people be? They've been stupid forever. It's been going on. What's your favorite war? I like the Peloponnesian War. The 100-Year War was great. Oh, the War in Roses was lovely. Hey, what was your favorite crusade, the first or the 16th? People follow like clowns all the time. And it's the same thing going on now. So it has to be a reality that they can understand, like a market crash that wakes them up a little bit. But again, my greatest concern is war.
Yeah.
It never stops.
It can't. It can't. There's too much money attached.
Yep.
Unfortunately. Gerald, I wrote one last thing down that I want to ask you about because it's coming, push is coming to shove here, is the student loan debt situation. I think September 1st, I might be wrong, maybe it's August 1st, but repayments of the student loan debt have to start. It's a ton of money people will have to put up again that they used for other expenses just the last 2 years. Do you see that changing anything on the economic side, like pushing people, a little further down the road?
Yeah, a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay.
When you look at the whole population in that segment, it's.
Okay.
But again,
So-
you think of the student debt. What you got a degree in gender studies? No, I got one in art history. I mean, what a bunch of again. It's in the magazine, the Trends Journal, last week. The cost of going to college from 1970, when I got my master's degree, in the United States has gone up some 2,000% since 1970. For what? For what? To learn a bunch of crap from arrogant clowns? If you're going to get it, if you're going there to become a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, a trade, great. But if you're going there to learn about, other stuff you're going to be a social worker. Stop. So what are you wasting your money for? Again, I wouldn't have gone to college had it not been for the Vietnam draft. If you went to college, then you could beat the draft. When I graduated high school, I wanted to open up a delicatessen in Parkchester in the Bronx. The only school I could get into, again, they used to call us greasers. We had greasy black hair. From a greaser, it was in Charleston, West Virginia, the poorest place in America. Was the only college I could get into to beat the draft. I hated every damn day of school. It's not for everybody. And we should be learning more trades, be learning more things to do with our minds and our hands. The college system sucks, as does the public school system. Oh, by the way, I ran away from kindergarten at 4.5 years old and crossed the Boston Post Road, which was the major artery back then between Boston and New York, because I hated school so much. So the college people that you got your debt, you deserve it. It's your fault.
No, if it doesn't pay, why go, right? Like, what's the point? As you said, like we need a lot of tradesmen anyway. Like we're in short supply of tradesmen. Might as well learn a proper trade. So,
Yes.
Absolutely. Gerald, I tremendously enjoyed this conversation. This was great. It's great fun. A pleasure meeting you. It was the first time here on the program. And where can we find more of you?
Trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. I'd like to tell you a quick story about my visit to Germany. It changed my life. Back in 2012, we were opening up the Trends Journal and meeting people in Berlin. I'd never been to Berlin before. It was August 17th. April 17th, 2022. And they drive me around. Here's East Berlin. I'm driving around this place and I'm saying, my God, Berlin was grander than Paris. No buildings like over 16 stories tall, parks everywhere. And then we're sitting outside, cafe tables, the sidewalks wide enough, 4 or 5 deep, place to bicycle and walk. And I'm looking across the street beautiful median with trees, and I see a beautiful German building. And at the same height, all new construction. And I realized everywhere I went around Germany, around Berlin, the same thing. Gorgeous buildings and an all new construction. And I'm thinking back and I'm saying to myself, in the 1930s, Germany was at the height of Western civilization, culturally, philosophically, scientifically. And I'm thinking of the great German names, Bach, Beethoven, and I'm saying to myself, why didn't the people stop the destruction? This place was grander than Paris before it was bombed out. Why didn't the people take to the streets to stop the destruction? You're losing. You're losing. I'm a fighter. I used to teach close combat, so it's not bullshit. If somebody comes in here with a gun, get down on your knees. All right, man, take it easy. Okay. I'm not going to fight. Where were the people to stop it? I came back, I'm in Kingston, New York, on April 27th. There was a for sale sign on a building that went up when I was away. It's called the Franz Rogan House, 1750 building on the most historic four corners of America. It's the only place in America with pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings in Kingston, New York, that was the first capital of New York before the British burnt it down. The Constitution that was written here for New York State, over 70% of America's Constitution comes from the Constitution that was written here. And John Jay, the famous Supreme Court judge, was a judge here. The seeds of democracy was sown here. On April 30th, I called up the real estate agent, had her into my office. I took possession of this building on June 1st. I paid cash for it. And then I proceeded to buy the other two. The fourth one is a museum. The reason I bought these buildings is because of my trip to Germany and seeing Berlin. I was looking to leave the country back in 2010, been around. There's nowhere I want to go. And after being in Berlin, I realized I can't run away. There are two-bit freaks everywhere. This is my country. I'm a Napolitano, born in the Bronx, born to be free. Love it or leave it? No, you leave it. I have rallies here. Just had one in May. Occupy Peace and Freedom. That's why I bought these buildings. I launched Occupy Peace because of my trip to Berlin. And I said, why weren't the people that were losing their life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness saying, we had enough, stop, we need peace? And that's why I launched Occupy Peace. I fight for peace because I see the future. I'm a trend forecaster, trend tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. Trend tracking, Trends 2000, international bestseller. A magazine, been writing for since 1991. If we don't stop where we're going, we are going to be annihilated in a nuclear war. We have demonic, evil people in charge. So that's why I'm saying my trip to Berlin changed my life.
I'm glad we were part of that. No, it's an interesting anecdote. I really appreciate you sharing that, Gerald. It's really, really interesting. You still own the buildings? What are you doing with them?
Yeah,
Just
no,
curious.
I have rallies here.
Okay.
Go to Occupy Peace. You see them. I just had a big one here on May 27th.
Is that the building you're in right now?
No, this is another building. This was an old
Yeah.
supermarket. But anyway, I had Dennis Kucinich, who's RFK Jr.'s campaign manager, as one of the speakers. Scott Ritter, Judge Napolitano. No, I fight for peace. And so I'm telling everybody out there, you better put your money where your heart is and do something to support peace. Because if we don't, this thing is finished. It's finished. It's finished. Look at the clowns you got. That Vandalin over there spewing out the other one over there, little war clowns. Oh, if only women were in charge with that Baerbock, whatever her name is, in Germany. You're talking about war, more weapons. Hey, how about launching Operation Barbarossa 2.0, huh?
Ah, as you said, it's not trending in the right direction, and
No.
it's absolutely not. So we got to end it here, Gerald. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I know we should have ended on a happier note here, but I really
Well,
appreciate
no,
it.
that's, you know,
I know it's reality. That's what it
yeah.
is. So
Yeah.
can't change that. Really appreciate your time. We'll definitely link to your channels below. You run a fantastic YouTube channel as well. You're on Twitter, so we'll put that in the description below. Appreciate your time, and we hope I really hope we get to do this again soon.
Love to. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Soar Financially. Really, really great conversation with Gerald Celente about what is happening on the macro scale. He says, take charge, own what you like. Really, really great, statement, actually. I really like how he ended our conversation here. Let us know in the comments, what are you doing to take charge? What are you doing to change things around, maybe stop some of the trends that are happening? Love to hear it. Really, really appreciate your time watching. Subscribe to the channel. It is right here. I always do the wrong side. It's right here. It says subscribe on it. We truly appreciate it because I know over 80% of you watching are not subscribed. It helps us get people guests like Gerald Celente on the channel, bring them back on more frequently as well. It really helps us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. We'll be back with more.